What's up? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the politics and BS. What's up, guys? So listen, the irony of all of this stuff that people used to say about Joe Biden, calling him Sleepy Joe, he's too old, he needs to be put to bed, he looks like he's about to fall over, all of these different things, right? They were speaking about Joe Biden as if Joe Biden was 80 and 45/47 was 40 or 45 or even 47. The dude is old. And to hear people are saying that he's going to be running for a third term, and on his website, they have Trump 2028 hats that they're selling. And I'm quite sure there's some dummies out there that are buying the hats, and probably some of them are already wearing them. These people are so stupid. But I'm going to share this video because I find it hilarious. Hilarious that people wanted to talk about how sleepy Joe Biden was, and here we got sleepy, creepy Donald. The man is tired, but because he is so full of hatred and vengefulness that all he wants to do is sabotage this nation and go after people that he feels were going after him because he has this wicked desire for revenge. And it's disgusting. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get into this video. And this is courtesy of the David Pakman Show. And I love it over there. So if you're not subbed to his channel, please do so. But we are going to get into this video right about now.
Well, this is honestly kind of sad. It's like end of the rally, slurring his words, what city am I in kind of sad. Donald Trump sat down with Glenn Beck. That alone should already get us to say, oh boy, how poorly did this go? And what we got in this interview is very interesting. This was not tough guy Trump. It wasn't chaos agent Trump. It was low energy, deflated, kind of mumbling about nothing Donald Trump. Listen to his demeanor, check out his tone. He just looks out of energy, exhausted, almost sad to see. And then, of course, you remember, damn, this guy's ruining a lot of stuff, and he doesn't even seem to have the energy for it. Take a listen.
I don't have to negotiate. I don't have to negotiate. I'm talking to people out of respect, but I don't have to. So we're this giant store that people want to come in and buy from. We're the United States. We have the richest consumer, et cetera, right? But we're not going to be that way for long if we don't do something. But we're this giant store, and they all want to come in and they want to take our product.
Just pausing it for a moment. They really are teasing this hair up here because I see scalp. I know they're doing some stuff to try to manipulate it, but I see scalp. Okay? But anyway.
Now, remember that none of this is even true.
But to take our product, they're going to have to pay. And we'll either make a deal with them or we'll just set a price, because some countries are worse than others. Some countries have ripped us off really badly, and some countries have just ripped us off a little bit. But almost all of them have ripped us off because we've had really poor leadership.
And you have been the poor leader, and he is the king of ripoff.
And what's going to happen is we're going to negotiate with, we are negotiating. We're negotiating with 70 different countries.
Now, remember that Caroline Leavitt said it was 50, but then someone else said it was 18 countries. And then we're going to negotiate. Actually, we are negotiating. This guy is totally wiped. You can hear it. The bravado with which he started the tariff fiasco is gone because of what's happening in the real world, because of what he's hearing from the retail CEOs. He is now this kind of slouched, exhausted guy with a meandering word salad. And he's cornered to a degree because the tariff plan is collapsing. Fox News is even reading the brutal polling live on the air, and his staff can't even keep up with the lies and the shifts in narrative. And this is what we get.
We're negotiating. We're showing great respect. But in the end, we may make deals, but either that or I just set a price. I said, here's what you're going to pay for the privilege of servicing the United States of America. And they have an option. They can maybe talk to me a little bit, or they can not shop. You know, they don't have to shop at this big store, or they can shop.
Right.
But in any event, they're going to have to pay. Look, we owe 36 trillion for a reason. The reason is the trade and also the endless wars, the stupid wars that we fought.
And remember that Donald Trump still seems sort of confused between national debt and trade balance. He doesn't totally seem to get the difference between those two concepts. Are they related? Yes. In some general sense, they're related. But are they related in the way that Donald Trump seems to be thinking? No, he seems confused.
We go into the Middle East, we blow it up, we leave, we don't get anything. And you're a big fan of exactly what I'm saying. I'm meaning, let's not do the
Let's not do
stupid
that.
stuff.
Doesn't work.
It's stupid. Endless wars that they don't even want us. You know, we got into wars, they didn't even want us. So all of that stuff, you know, when I left 4 years ago, we had no wars. We had no Israel and Hamas. And by the way, it would have never happened because Iran was broke. They were broke. I had sanctions that were so strong on Iran. They were totally broke. They had no money for Hamas.
To some degree, one of the saddest parts of this is Glenn Beck, who, listen, you can say a lot of things about Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck realizes that this stuff is meaningless drivel. This is just nothing. It's vapid. Even Glenn Beck nods along and goes, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Hezbollah. We didn't have Russia, Ukraine. That would have never happened, by the way. We didn't have the Afghanistan embarrassment, one of the great embarrassments in the history of our country. We didn't have any inflation.
I know.
Don't forget, I charged China.
He is the embarrassment of this country. Like, seriously, the audacity, but he's got a lot of that.
Hundreds of billions worth of tariffs. They talk about inflation. We had no inflation.
Remember that the American importers pay the tariffs.
Exactly. Like, I don't get my products from China, but I have a product line and some of my containers, the packaging is made in China. And instead, to pass the savings on to my customers, to the consumers, instead of purchasing some of the containers from companies in this country, because I know the manufacturers that they get them from are in China, I've worked out because I've had a skincare line since 2017. So I've found some companies that create the packaging themselves. So I had gone directly to those companies to purchase versus going to the companies in this country where they upcharge me, and you know what I mean, so that I could pass the savings on to my customers. And I just got a message from one of the manufacturers yesterday that were like, yeah, did you hear about the they don't call it a tariff, they call it a tax, because I would be paying that. When you have taxes, you pay them. You pay them, and then that money you pay goes to, whoever it's supposed to go to. So they said, "Did you hear about the 125% tax for any items purchased after May the 1st?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard about it, but we're hoping and praying that this will not go into effect because of the craziness that's going on in the administration. We don't know what's what." So, yeah, they don't pay that. We pay it. This big dummy.
How many times does it have to be explained to this guy?
Because that doesn't cause inflation. Stupidity causes inflation. High energy caused inflation. When they took over my energy, we were making it like nobody's ever seen. And then the prices doubled. By the way, because of that, Putin went in. If they kept, you see what's going on with energy now, it's going down.
Right.
It makes it much harder for Putin to prosecute the war.
Now, understand that with regard to energy, gas prices are essentially flat since Donald Trump took office. They went down a little, spiked, and they're back down to roughly where they were when he took office. And heating bills this winter were so high that many utilities have offered deferments of taking a percentage of your bill and then spreading it out over the spring months where energy bills are presumably lower. Not something you do if energy prices are falling. So this is an improvising Donald Trump. They can choose not to shop. Is that a policy, or is that a threat, or is that anything? What does that even mean? And this is a real stark contrast with term number one. Term number one, he at least had the illusion of energy. He had the chance. He had the whatever you would even call it. This is, a tired guy riffing on the remains, the crumbs of a broken campaign promise. And there has been a decidedly anti-democratic move in all of this. Mm-hmm. And we have to go back to that because that's arguably the biggest story of this presidency so far.
And listen, I have to agree with that because I had someone that made a comment under one of my other videos, and they said, I miss the peace that I felt when Joe Biden was president. And that's not to say that the world was full of peace and everybody was holding hands and singing Hands Across America or whatever, but we didn't hear about BS every single day. And now it's like multiple things a day. That's why my goal, and even talking about some of the things, I can't keep up with it because it's too much. It really is. And so the fact that you've got this sleepy, creepy guy who is really not full of any energy, but full of vengeance, I feel like it's a dangerous combination. So y'all need to come get your president because, like, he's tired. And honestly, I'm tired of him. I'm tired of not knowing what's what. These student loans, they're about to go back into effect with collections and all this other stuff. And I ain't even going to lie to you guys. I've had my stuff on forbearance and deferments for years. And I'm gonna have to be making some phone calls today and maybe tomorrow if they're open and Monday to find out what I can do because this is absolutely ridiculous. They don't want to give people who have been bombarded with student loan debt a break, but yet you want to give multimillionaires and billionaires tax breaks. You want to take Social Security, you want to take Medicare and Medicaid, you want to slash government offices so that there's not enough staff when there already was issues in the first place getting through to a lot of these places, amongst other things, is absolutely insane. So this crazy combination of a person that's full of revenge but also not full of energy is dangerous. I really want to know what you guys think about it, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.